Hey, good morning, YouTube. It's time to drill some holes. This is coming to you from my new Apple iPhone Pro 12 Max. It's a great phone. It's the first video I'm trying to take with it, so let's see what happens. So, again, using the UJK Parf Guide system, have it all set up here. I did my measurements so that all of these fall in between the web spaces here. I'm going to drill a full field across the whole thing of the 3mm holes so I can always add them in afterwards. As I go along, I'm going to figure out where I want some holes. I don't want holes over the entire top because I don't want stuff falling in behind or underneath, although it's easy to get at it if I do drop it in there. So that's okay. That's all right. I don't have clamps that would work along with the edge. Trying to get underneath and into there, it just wouldn't work. So I just use some tape. And my speed square, I just made sure I had it set up nice and secure there. Nice and the right length there. Just taped it down, went really slow. Drilled the first hole, put the pin in, drilled another, then I made sure that this end was the right length. Drilled this hole, put the pin in, and now I've got the last hole. So I'm going to put another pin in there and then finish off these, do that whole 3, 4, 5 thing, and do the whole field. And we'll see what happens. I hear somebody sneaking in here. Yeah, there he is. Oh, poor guy bonked his head. Well, he's going to help me out. Well, not really help me out, just get in the way. See you guys in a bit. All right. Turned out good. I was able to get all the perimeter holes drilled, and at that end, that ruler lines up perfectly from side to side. So there's a good chance that all of these holes are going to be parallel, 90 degrees to each other, and all good. So I'm just going to finish off the whole field this way. Then I have to extend that out towards the table saw, and that out so that I can cut much larger pieces. Let me go ahead and work on this. All right, so I have set everything up. I have the full field done, all 100 holes completed. I do need to extend this by 2 sections here. The way I'm doing this, and I was watching John McGrath, he has Man and Shed Shop on YouTube. He ran into some problems, I think, because all he did was he just extended this out with some pins, and then his field was a little bit off. So I'm doing the 3, 4, 5 triangle with extra pins and the other locator driller, a dowler thingamajigger, in there. So I extended it out by the 2, used pre-existing pins on here, and then reference that using the extra long drilling guide through the 2 holes, and then a pin over here for another 3, 4, 5 triangle. And interestingly enough, number 5 lines up perfectly in the middle there, and the little locator pin fits absolutely beautifully. It slides in without even a hitch. So I know that so far this is all good, and it's also square, as close as we're going to get for woodworking. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to finish off those ones. Then I'm going to start tackling that side because I've got probably about 6 holes to finish over there. And that will be a fence to allow me to put a full sheet of plywood on this, a dog there, track located here along this side, and then I can square off a full sheet of plywood. That's my hope, at least. So everything is drilled except for this little corner where the drill is, and the 3, 4, 5 extras seem to work out really good. Man, lots of these little turds, basically. It's worked out really well. I have to say there's a couple things I picked up while I'm doing this. Right, Rex? Yep, he's hanging out with me now. Number 1 is, in between each time you drill some holes, take this, wipe it off with your hand or cloth or whatever. Get all the dust and goop off so it's always straight. Number 2, keep track of these. I made one mistake. I used this extra long one just on this accidentally, and it's got a bit of wobble to it. It's in an area I probably won't need a hole, and the pin will be fine, so I can work around it. Not a big deal. Make sure that you clean these off as well in between each time. And the easier thing to do is to put it in to the hole first in the ruler, and then afterwards, once it's seated on the ruler, there we go, push it into the bottom. Otherwise, you're hunting around and pecking around and that type of thing. So those are my sort of experiences so far. I'm going to finish off that, clean this all off, and then do a check with the two rulers and sort of doing some angles and 90s and seeing how everything lines up. Hopefully it looks like it's going to be really good. Absolutely perfect. The far ends of the bench over there do a perfect 90 degrees to here. And this is still in the original field, and that goes out right up to that far end over there, a perfect, 45. These two are at a perfect 90. I checked them with my framing square. So everything here, all 208 little holes that I've drilled, seem to be perfectly aligned. So now I'm going to have to decide where I'm going to drill the big holes. That I'm going to have to mess with that fence over there. There we go. With that, I'm going to put it all the way this way. And whatever row that lines up with over here, then I'm going to drill the big roll of holes along there for a fence or a set of dogs. And then, yeah, over here, I got to figure out which one of these rows I'm going to do. And then I have to do a row this way as well. One for the fence, one for the track. So I'm going to work on that. I think I'm done for the day. I'm going to hang it up right now, and I'll catch you when I get working on the next piece. That's going to be a little bit more of a mess and a lot more work. Hey, good evening, wood butchers. Coming to you live from the workshop. We have done a little bit of work here. I made my own little dust shroud. So, because I live in Canada, and because this UJK stuff is out of Axminster in the UK, yeah, I'm not paying $80 shipping or whatever it was to get the little clippy thing that they make for this. So I made my own little dust shroud, and it's ugly, but it works. I just made a couple cutouts on the bandsaw. I just marked off of the jig here, height and width, and then figured out how wide out a port would be. Cut up some little chunks of hardboard. This is just that 1/8 inch stuff. I had a few bits left over. That's why you never throw your little scraps out. I kind of glued it together with some CA glue, dribbled some sawdust in there, and then CA glued that, and then filled it in with some hot glue. In the corners, I just put a little bit of hot glue and jammed some little leftovers I had from when I was messing around with the, what was it? Oh yeah, the finger joining jig. These were some of the fingers I cut off when I was testing it and wigging things out. So that was glued in there, almost like a little bit of caulking to seal it. When I cut out the hole, that thing is just a bit under 1 3/8. The 1 1/4 was too small. So I went with 1 3/8, and then I just used the hot glue and just kind of rimmed this out, squished it down with my finger while it was still malleable, and it fits really good. So all you have to do, put this over top, plug the vacuum in, and go to it. The jig is working great. I have those holes done over there, so you can put some dogs in this area to level out a track. So I can now square off a piece of, I think a 4x8 sheet. So the 4x8, the end would be here. I would just cut one edge straight, put it along those dogs. I can just cut the other part off and square off a sheet of plywood. So that helps. Sometimes I can get plywood that's great, but it's maybe out of square, or the ends aren't nice, or the layers are off. So this way I can get it all done up. So that's done over there. Now I'm just working on the line of holes here for the bench dogs fence. So I'm going to get those done up. I did notice a small issue at the top here. A certain black and white dude left a few marks on it. As he was running by, some of his hair would fall onto this as it was drying. So I had to pick out a few hairs and clean that up, but it works working great. So I'm just going to work on this row across here, and then I'll make probably a couple rows here for where to sit the track in and go from that. This length from this row to here is about as long as I can reach with my arm and the track saw to cut. This will give me about 28 inches or so, maybe a little bit more. Certainly 24 inches here. So it'll be more than what I can do with the Bosch saw over there. I'll work it out. Catch you in a bit after I get a few more things done. So, for whatever reason years ago, I got one of these things. It is, for any drill, anything that has a chuck in it, I can just put it in there and it operates on any hex, bit, drill bit, that type of thing. So it allows me to have a quick release. If I just pull up on this part, there we go. It just releases really quickly. And with the drill bit in the kit, all I have to do is just put that in there. It clips in, boom, done. And then as I'm doing that, it has a quick release. Watch this. Oh, also, here's these pins. I'm able to put them in. This is just sitting loosely. Look how nice that goes in. These have been lining up perfectly, no issues. Nice and solid now. Let's turn the vacuum on. Pull up a little bit. Vacuum off, and it's all perfect. Time to move on to the next hole. Love it. All right, that made short work of those holes. Everything's lined up beautifully. There's a little bit of play in this right now. These little knobs do not have a whole lot of extra thread into the nuts. T-nuts you can see back down in here somewhere, but they're holding good. I like how it all lines up. Now I just have to drill these holes out to accept the track, and I've got myself an MFT table. Functional. I have the whole field I can use to do some other holes, and then I can change the jig so that I can drill in between holes if I need to. So I'm pretty excited about it. Certainly this is going to be really handy. If I come over this way, a little bit of a tape measure thing happening here. What do we got? So from the end out to here, I have, because that last hole there, you can see right by the 25. That last hole will be where the fence would go in. Yeah, I can do easily 24 inches of material without blinking. If I find I need more, I can do another row of holes out here and just move it back that much further. So that's something I can do when I need it. Again, I don't want to just cover this whole thing in holes. I don't need it yet. I don't want stuff going through. I don't want to have a bunch of mess. But for right now, this is working great. Good evening, everybody. So this is my first test. So I'm gonna see how this works. I'm pretty excited. I got all my holes drilled out. So I got basically this row is for the cutting guide for when I'm doing a full cross cut of a 4x8 sheet. This would be the end. The long part would be extending that way. These other holes are just for the support dogs, for panels and stuff like that, so it holds it up off the table. I'm gonna try and use some little, what do you call the little mini feet? I'll show them to you afterwards. in regards to keeping stuff off the bottom. So I'm not going to be cutting into the top tremendously, or at all, maybe, possibly, sort of. And so this will be the row for the fence on this side, and that will be the row for the fence over there. So I think it's going to work out pretty good. Once I get it all set up, I'll do a test cut. Here is a piece of the side of the old outfeed table, and when I took it all apart, well, the glue held pretty good on a couple spots here, so I got to clean up this edge and get it all nice and trimmed out. So I figured this is a good piece to practice on because it's old, it needs to be fixed up, and it's just cheap old 3/4 inch plywood. And this is what it's for, is it's too wide to fit on the saw over there. And being that it's wider than it is long, or longer, yeah. Anyways, I would put that edge, and this edge is kind of all mucked up as well. There's some roughness on it, so it's not a good flat edge. So this is to find out if I can true up a piece here. I'm going to use the DeWalt's track on this one, mainly because if I use that one, I have to adjust the saw, and I got it all set up for the DeWalt track right now. I'm probably going to get, don't tell the missus, the cordless DeWalt track saw, and it'll be set up on the, probably the Festool rail, maybe. Or maybe I'll do the old one on the Festool rail with the cord on this table and vacuum stuff, and then the cordless for bigger stuff. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Okay, everything's set up. I have my saw aligned. When I was putting the fence in, I kind of realized that the little pegs inside the track underneath have some slop side to side. So what I did was I pulled the track this way as I was able to reach underneath, and then tightened the little rail dogs down. I did that on the side there, and I did it on the side here. So actually came in really handy, and these holes are perfectly placed for that. So man, I love it when a plan comes together. I'm going to give it a shot. It's all lined up against there. Underneath, I have a little bit of a space. I have these little mini dogs with the silicone pads on top. They're all spaced out underneath. And I put the silicone pads and this to give me, and these little guys, just to give me a little bit of movement up off the bottom so I can cut through without cutting into this. So I'll check the squareness of the cut and see how it goes. But, well, wish me luck. Okay, that went really well and super smooth. Let's see how this works. Right there. That's flush all along there. Flush all along there. So for my 6-inch level, or 6-inch engineer square, perfect. Let's try my woodpeckers. Let's line that up there. So that's 100%. Flush there, and as we go along, let's get that level there. That is 100% square with this one, and this one is, what, a 10.5-inch arm on that, probably 10-inch. You know, that's as good as I'd ever gotten with my sliding table, and it works. You know, you sometimes watch all these silly YouTube videos and you think, well, maybe it should be good. This works. I gotta say, I'm really impressed. It's been a lot of work to get this done, It's been a lot of frustration and you know, different things. These are those little dogs that I talked about. They're just little mini ones with the silicone on top, so the board didn't slide around. Still, I could still move it back and forth, but it really held it nice. I'm going to make a few more holes here so I can get more of these along the cutting edge there. You know, it's all a process of learning and experimenting and trying and tribulations and all that kind of stuff. You know, somebody here thinks it's pretty cool. So I'm going to leave it off with that. This was 100% successful. Table, perfect. Outfeed component, perfect. Crosscut, beautiful. Am I going to grab a sheet of 4x8 and test it on that? Don't need to. So far, this whole setup works fantastic. I have no doubts that the lines over there are going to work fantastic. Have a great evening, everybody. Enjoy, get out, cut up some wood, make a mess, have some fun. Enjoy life. See you later. Yeah, he's a bit tired out from running around outside right now. Just as an addendum to the next video, we're going to have a little bit of fun looking through this thing. Not sure if you know what that is, but it's going to be a lot of fun.